So today, we have a full-grown Indominus Rex taking on an accurate Tyrannosaurus Rex. Who wins? Well, let's find out. So, we know that the Indominus would have killed Rexy, right? In a one-on-one, she would have. But now we also know that Rexy wasn't an accurate representation of what the T-Rex was 66 million years ago. She was actually kind of nerfed in comparison. So, let's just talk about size. A fully grown Indominus Rex would have stood 22 feet tall, over 50 feet long, and weighed around 8 tons. But, while experts disagree with how big the Tyrannosaurus got, I'm going to use like the largest estimates, and one of the largest T-Rex specimens ever found was nicknamed Sue, who is this lovely gal right here. She stood 13 to 15 feet tall at the head, 40 feet long, and weighed around 9 tons. We also know some got larger than this, as another specimen, Scotty, is over 40 feet in length. But regardless, the Indominus Rex is taller and longer, while the T-Rex is heavier. Strength. The Indominus was incredibly strong. Very strong. Possibly the strongest dinosaur we ever saw outside of like the Mosasaurus. The Indominus forced the massive door of her enclosure that was automatically closing open, hurled the truck with ease, and busted through a building. She also overpowered and killed basically every dinosaur in her path, from an ankylosaur to several fully grown apatosaurs. She also overpowered Rexy, easily forcing her to the ground, and definitely would have killed her. She even sent Blue flying with enough force to crack concrete. She also had a powerful bite, as she just crushed the bulletproof gyrosphere with it. However, I just recently learned that her bite wasn't as strong as Rexy's, who had a bite force of about 12 tons psi. But moving on to the T-Rex, this guy was the apex predator of the late Cretaceous, with adults being able to take down almost anything. This includes Ankylosaur, a heavily armored dinosaur that could be over 30 feet in length and weigh 8 tons. Triceratops, which could be 30 feet long, 10 feet tall, and weigh 10 tons. And Edmontosaurus, a massive herbivore that could be over 40 feet long and weigh 3 tons heavier than the largest T-Rex, at its max estimate of 15 tons. Jesus. These were probably the 3 main adult dinosaurs that adult T-Rex went for, but it's believed that they were opportunistic and would eat anything. This could also mean sickly, elderly, or an infant brontosaurus, which completely outweighed them. Even the infants were pretty large. They also had the strongest bite out of any land animal ever to exist. It's believed that its bite force was more than 70,000 newtons, or a psi of over 15,000. They could crush basically anything between those jaws. I'd say the T-Rex is overall stronger, with its heavier, bulkier build, and its much stronger bite force. Durability. Experts have found, not we, several T-Rex fossils that have shown major injuries being healed. This just means that the specimen endured the injury but didn't die from it, as it healed over time. These injuries include bites from other T-Rexes, hits from an ankylosaur's clubbing tail, which had a swinging force of 25,000 newtons, or 5,000 pounds of force, being pierced by Triceratops' horns, and one even showed that it had survived after losing its tail somehow, probably being bitten off by another Tyrannosaur. But the Indominus showed that her tough hide was bulletproof. She didn't even seem to be hurt after clawing out her own tracker out of her skull, and quickly recovered after being hit in the face by an ankylosaur's clubbing tail. She was only knocked over from a RPG rocket explosion happening right next to her, but there was actually she wasn't injured by it, and she took Rexy's attacks, which included bites to the neck and being rammed into a building. I think you can make an argument for either one to take this edge. The Irex could match Rexy's running speed at 30 miles per hour. She also had a lean, agile build for such a large dinosaur. But when it comes to the T-Rex, experts just can't seem to agree. Some say due to its massively powerful legs that they could reach 45 miles per hour, which would make it one of the fastest dinosaurs ever, especially for its size. But others say because of its heavy, bulky build, it could only reach 7 to 10 miles per hour. That's such a huge difference. Like, I don't even know how to scale that. Personally, I think it's in between those, but likely on the slower side, probably between 15 to 20 miles per hour max. But based on a study from 2019, experts found that the T-Rex could turn 2 times faster than Allosaurids of similar size, meaning it could turn on a dime and maintain that top speed. But despite that, I'd still say the Indominus takes the edge in speed and agility. Now, what about their means of attack, senses, and other abilities? Well, outside of its crazy strong bite, there's also evidence that the T-Rex rammed their heads like a bull. This would be to knock over competing T-Rexes or large prey items, just so they would get hold an advantage over them. And despite popular belief, T-Rexes had great vision, whether you were moving or not. And it was one of the more intelligent dinosaurs of the late Cretaceous. Experts say their intelligence levels were in between big cats and primates, while others disagree with that, saying that they're more on the lines of like a crocodile or a lizard or something. But if they are between big cats and primates, this means that they would have been able to learn from past failures, as well as come up with new strategies to take down prey. However, this has been debated for years. They had a keen sense of smell, indicated by large olfactory regions in their skull, and their inner ear was adapted to pick up low frequency sounds, allowing them to detect prey over large distances. But the Indominus had powerful arms with hands capable of gripping onto things. These hands also had long claws from Tyrannosaurus DNA, which is something most large carnivorous theropods didn't have. She could hide her heat signature in camouflage, but I need to talk about her intelligence. Her intelligence came from Velociraptor DNA, which are said to be the second smartest things in the world, in the Jurassic franchise. She planned and successfully escaped her enclosure, tricking everyone there. Think of that. She had to learn that they could see her heat signatures. She had to learn that they would come into her enclosure if it looked like she had escaped. She had to learn all that. And so she accurately planned everything and then escaped. She remembered where they implanted her tracking device when she was an infant. She then used said tracking device to lure in that squad or whatever. And instead of fighting Blue and her sisters, she communicated with them and became their alpha. These feats show us her intelligence was on par with primates, being able to solve problems, plan, and lay elaborated traps. So, who wins? Well, the T-Rex is heavier, had a stronger bite, was probably overall stronger, and had something I didn't mention earlier that it has in its corner, and that is experience. A T-Rex like Sue or Scotty would have lived a long life, meaning they had years of experience, if not only successful hunting large prey like Triceratops and Edmontosaurus, but also fighting off or killing other adult T-Rexes. On the other hand, the Irex went on a warpath killing everything in her path, and while she killed several dinosaurs, she never failed in killing something until she herself died. And while that does show great quick thinking and adaptation, without failure, she never got the chance to learn different strategies to kill something, But while she lacks experience, she was taller, longer, faster, more agile, had longer, more usable arms and claws, smarter, and more versatile. However, her height and arms are her greatest weapons here. She can keep the T-Rex away out of reach while also inflicting damage. She knows, due to her fight with Rexy, that the T-Rex's bite is its most powerful weapon, and to avoid it. However, we know the T-Rex was smart enough to target limbs, biting them off. I believe that's what would happen here, biting one of the Indominus' arms off, forcing the I-Rex to back off and rethink her plan, maybe even momentarily retreating. The T-Rex would likely give chase, seeing how injured she is. But this is the T-Rex's fatal mistake, because when the I-Rex camouflages, will just, find a place, camouflage, and then ambush the T-Rex when she can. It's likely that the T-Rex could detect the Indominus by smelling her, but I also think that in the heat of the moment and believing that it has the Indominus on the ropes, it would just rush in and try to go in for the kill. I do think the Tyrannosaurus could beat the subadult Indominus that we saw on screen, being smaller. And something I didn't even mention was that being heavier, the T-Rex would have more stability and would be harder for the Indominus to knock it over. However, though, a fully grown one, I believe, is too much for the Tyrant King to overcome. Being 7 to 9 feet taller, she has a lot of leverage over the T-Rex. She is still smarter, more agile, and she has those claws and arms that would really give her the edge over the T-Rex. I just think it's too much for the Tyrant King to overcome. The Indominus Rex wins. Like and subscribe if you did enjoy. Leave a comment of what you thought, and hit the notification bell to be notified of all my future videos and other great stuff. I truly do appreciate it. My socials will be down in the description. Please send in those questions for that Q&A video I want to do. And I'm on the road to 3K. So let's get there. Thank you so much. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.